Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a family drama from Reddit that poses a question so uncomfortable it had thousands of people weighing in.
So let me ask you something. Picture this. You get an invitation to celebrate the 10th anniversary of a wedding, the very same wedding you were explicitly banned from attending. What do you do? I know it sounds wild, but this is the real-life situation a young woman was facing, and it's at the very heart of our story today.
So it all starts with our main character, a 23-year-old woman. Out of the blue, she gets a message from her estranged father. He's saying he misses her and he wants to invite her to his 10-year wedding anniversary party. On the surface, it might sound like an olive branch, right? But for her, this simple invitation just rips open a whole decade of really painful history.
Her answer to him was a simple no. And to really understand that no, we have to rewind the clock about 10 years. Because this wasn't really about just one party. It was about a long, hurtful pattern that started with that very wedding.
Okay, so let's walk through this timeline. The exclusion kicks off when she's only 13. Her dad's excuse for the wedding was that it was a no-kids event. The problem? Her new step-siblings, who were 14 and 16, were there. That one moment pretty much set the tone for the next decade. She was constantly left out of so-called family vacations, dinners, you name it. And it all came to a head when she turned 18. Just 1 week after graduating high school, she was kicked out of the house. Meanwhile, her older step-siblings, they were allowed to stay.
And, this feeling of being left out, it wasn't just about the big events. It was in all the little things, too. She tells us one story about a shopping trip where her stepbrother got several pairs of expensive Nikes. When she asked for just one pair for herself, her dad said no. Instead, he took her to Walmart, picked out a cheap pair for her, a pair she didn't even get to choose. It's a small memory, but wow, it just perfectly sums up what it felt like to be treated like you don't matter as much.
So with all that history, she declined the invitation. And the reaction was, it was immediate and intense. Her father, stepmother, and a bunch of other relatives started blowing up her phone, calling her rude, ungrateful, and selfish. The pressure was so immense, it actually made her start to doubt herself. So she turned to Reddit and asked thousands of strangers the big question, am I the asshole here?
And the response she got from the Reddit community was absolutely massive. People didn't just give an opinion, they basically offered a full diagnosis. They broke down the entire family dynamic like a team of investigators poring over a cold case.
One comment in particular just cut right through the noise. A user named MTNGRL60 put it this way. What she was experiencing wasn't just being treated unfairly. It was a classic textbook pattern of abuse. And it has a name. Scapegoating.
So what exactly is family scapegoating? Well, it's this really toxic dynamic where one person is basically chosen to carry all the blame for the family's problems. They become the designated problem child, the target for all the negative energy, no matter what they actually do. And for our OP, this was a light bulb moment. It wasn't about her actions, it was about the role she had been forced to play in her own family.
This, of course, raises the big question. Why invite her now, after a decade of pushing her away? Well, the community had a few theories, and they all pointed in the same direction. It wasn't about her. It was about optics. They needed to project this image of a big, happy family for their friends. Some said they just needed their dancing monkey to perform for the crowd. The consensus was that this invitation was a hollow shell, all about maintaining an image, not fixing a relationship. As one user brilliantly put it, her father set the tone years ago, now he's just dealing with the echo.
But Reddit didn't stop at just diagnosing the problem. They offered up concrete strategies, a real path forward. And the advice? It ranged from quiet, dignified self-preservation all the way to some pretty dramatic public confrontations. The number one suggestion, by far, was simple. Go no contact. That means blocking her dad and stepmom everywhere. It also means blocking the flying monkeys. Those relatives they send in to do their dirty work and harass you. The goal here isn't about revenge, it's about protecting your own peace of mind so you can actually start to heal.
But then, there was another path suggested for those feeling a bit bolder. Reclaim the narrative. Instead of just disappearing, she could tell her side of the story. Maybe send a long, detailed text to those relatives calling her ungrateful, or, hey, even post the whole 10-year history on social media for the world to see.
And this one user, successful_voice8542, really captured the feeling behind that idea. They wrote, I've been keeping receipts and been waiting for so many years for everyone to hear the truth. It's that fantasy, right? Of finally getting to stand up at that party, lay out a decade of mistreatment, and just walk away for good.
And ultimately, this whole thing became so much bigger than just this one family or this one party. It sparked this huge conversation about what the word family really means in the first place.
So, what was the final verdict on her original question? Well, it was a landslide. The community overwhelmingly voted NTA, not the asshole. The consensus was crystal clear. She was not wrong for protecting herself from people who consistently hurt her. She didn't owe them a thing.
And that really brought the whole conversation to this incredibly powerful conclusion about what family is. Like one user, Acceptable March 897, wrote, "Blood doesn't guarantee love or respect. Choosing people who actually show up for you makes all the difference."
So, in the end, the real lesson here isn't about getting revenge. It's about the incredible power of setting boundaries to protect your own well-being. And it really pushes all of us to ask ourselves a pretty important question. Beyond biology, who are the people that make up your chosen family?